And 5, 6, 7, 8. Welcome, everyone. This is the Smart in Public podcast. It's a podcast that talks about careers and life and expert advice, all through the eyes of comms people, marketing people. And today we've got a CEO on. So we're going to get to pick Tony's brain in just a minute. We've got Tony Stubblebine, the CEO of Medium, with us today. Woohoo! Welcome.
Okay. Yeah, Katie and Katie, thank you for having me. And if my sister Katie is listening, hi to her as well. Love talking to Katie's.
Listen, can't go wrong with a Katie in the room. I feel like you are
I'm on board with this. Yes.
perfect. I love that. And we're so happy to have you on. And there's so much that's been top of mind in our conversations recently with guests around like trust, authenticity, kind of human connection in this AI world. So we're just so excited to kind of have you on. Not only talk about that from a content perspective and like what you're seeing within Medium, but also what's happening in the industry as well. So really, we've got, 3 pages of questions here. I hope you're ready.
No, not even a little bit ready, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Tony, why don't you start out just kind of talking about maybe just giving a little bit of your background? I think it's nice to kind of hear and have that context.
Yeah, I came up through software development. I grew up in the startup industry and then kind of fell into entrepreneurship, but have always been really close to publishing on the internet. Originally, I worked for a media company, O'Reilly Media, and then I was part of a podcasting startup that's actually the one that Twitter spun out of. So I was like part of like actually launching this thing that used to exist and now has a different name. And then more recently as the CEO of Medium, the second CEO. And I think usually the second CEO is like the mercenary CEO. But I got the job because I was actually Medium's like biggest fan and power user. I have some credentials that make it plausible for me to have this job, but I'm like some weirdo where you put a text box in front of me and I have to fill it out. And that's always been true. It's been true for like 25 years. I like writing on the internet and sometimes for thought leadership and sometimes just to fool around and get an idea out. So, kind of a weird for me transition where I started out as like this uber nerd writing code and now I'm like much more on the comms side. Yeah.
So you're not one of those people that has a hard time like putting out thought leadership or anything like that, or do you still
I
need
mean,
support in that regard? Are you like a
no,
LinkedIn spammer? Like what are you doing with all of your
but isn't this the kind of the thing we want to talk about? Is like, isn't everyone hungry for like authentic thought leadership, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many platforms that are built for attention seeking and that then the side effect of that is there's no point to be an authentic thought leader. You're just trying to be the type of thought leader that gets a reaction. And that's kind of, I think, the opposite of what most people that I respect like are. Like, call me crazy, but I like to hear an expert explain something, right?
Yeah.
And kind of what I originally liked about blogging and writing online is that by definition, everyone is an expert in their own life. And so if you think about thought leadership, you're really just asking the person, what are you an expert in? And, if your thought leader is a CEO, well, hopefully, it's sort of like either they're the expert in their business or maybe they shouldn't be the CEO, right? But like, let's trust they're there for a reason. By definition, they're going to have something really interesting to say and they're going to know it better than anyone on the planet. Just start there. Tell me what's going on. I love to hear that. I think, that's what, when people say they're hungry for authenticity, that's really what they're talking about.
Yeah, I think they're also, we had Eleanor Hawkins on last week and she was talking like, we were saying, who do you think's doing a good job or who do you think's doing well? And she was like, just anyone with like an actual point of view. And I think that's part of it as well, right? It's like an expert and then also not being afraid to sort of have that point of view versus I feel like at the moment we've got a lot of content that sort of sits in the middle that's trying to appeal to the masses. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's what I think is missing a little bit at the moment.
Yeah, I think at the moment, I think it's interesting to think of it in terms of fear, right?
Mm,
It's like, but because normally, like a CEO is not afraid of anything, right? And I think the fear is that they won't be heard, and I think that fear is
mm,
coming from the platforms. I think what you call trends in marketing, a lot of them are just set by whatever incentives different platforms put out into the world. So, like, if you're on TikTok, I don't know if you must be following Gavin Newsom right now.
yeah.
It's like AI generated videos of him shirtless riding a bear, chasing his foes down on the White House lawn, right? And it's like, okay, like look, it's attention grabbing, right?
Yeah.
But in order to get that done, he had to find like kind of this unique, young Latina like social media manager. And it's like your average company, they don't have that, right?
Yeah.
What they have is expertise. And wouldn't it be nice if there's a platform that was putting incentives out where you can just be yourself, go be an expert, and
Mm,
you're going to get heard? Because I think that's the fear. The fear is that you're not going to get heard.
yeah.
So like I'm here in part to say like Medium is many things. It's like the place to write on the internet, but one of those things is we really, really, really value authentic thought leadership. Like we want
Mm,
to bring that old school thought leadership back because it's such a win-win. It's like it's the incentive for a CEO or many other types of thought leaders for them to take the time to share their life. Is like we provide that incentive and they're going to come in and just drop like tons of knowledge on us.
That's probably a good place to maybe, can we do a little bit of a deep dive in case any of our audience don't know Medium? Um, let's do the plug. What is it? And give people a little bit. If I'm sure most of our audience is, but just in case.
Yeah, I mean, Medium is a place to write and publish your writing, and it's got the power of it is the Medium network, the people that are there to read. And so our history, it really is the history of publishing on the internet because our founder, Evan Williams, was the founder of Blogger and then the founder of Twitter and now the founder of Medium. And so when it came to Medium, he was thinking, okay, we have all of this experience of what was good, but also what went wrong. And so I think Medium reflects originally what he thought the right way to do it was.
Mm,
And then that's not easy. There's a learning curve to it. And I was just always like, had worked with them before. I had been an advisor to Medium and was in agreement that there has to be something better on the internet. And, it's like a place that's not about division, a place that's
mm,
about thoughtful and informed takes. And so we've set about to create that type of home. And that's where you kind of, it's like you led with like how often do I post on LinkedIn, right? Because LinkedIn has an attention seeking
mm,
algorithm and Medium is built with a substance seeking algorithm. And the way that we do that is we have systems of curators that are out looking for well-written writing that is demonstrating some true personal experience behind it. Like those all get an extra boost in the
mm,
algorithm, and that's what that means is that a person with expertise can show up and write something and publish it and not have to go through all of the work of building an audience first, right? And
mm,
doesn't have to contort themselves to the rules of virality. Like, yeah,
yeah.
it matters that you put a good title on. The like you have to explain what you're talking about and why that's going to be important to the reader, but you don't have to. Do you use the word broetry?
Nope.
No, but you
I've
know
never,
what it means.
I've
But
never
you,
heard
are,
that.
but you already know what it means, right? And like that's like that style of writing that's like breathlessly hyperbolic,
Yeah.
Hmm.
like if there's two
I love
sentences in
that.
a paragraph, it's too long, right?
Yeah.
Like that stuff, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And there was a if it like I was thinking of like examples of thought leaders on Medium
Mm,
that I really respect. And there's this one, a business strategist, Roger Martin, who's an author, and he writes because he's looking for clients. It's like such a win-win. He thinks if I offer value, people that are looking for more of that value will hire me, and it like very
yeah.
successfully picks up clients
Mm,
this way. And he has this phrase that he uses in a lot of his advice, where to play. And it's like, so first of all, can we just flag that his thought leadership is so effective on Medium that he has the CEO of Medium using him as an example in
Totally.
other places,
Yeah.
right? Like, good job, Roger. You're nailing the
Gold
whole
star,
concept
Roger.
of
Yeah.
yes, totally. And but I like this idea of where to play because it's like kind of emphasizing two things. One is, play somewhere where you're capable of playing. Play where you're good, and then also sometimes play where other people aren't. And so like this field of AI generated viral marketing is incredibly crowded, and the more AI it gets, the more crowded it's going to get because anyone can jump in there. So here, like we've kind of created this special place where only experts can play, right? And also, like so many of your clients, that's the thing they're good at, right? And I just like I love that, and I like there's so like Medium is so much more than thought leadership, but this is one of the really specific things that like we just find delightful as the internet got so like toxic and inauthentic and artificial. It's just nice to bring back an authentic place and see it succeed, which is a big part of my job, um, and maybe hopefully make it a home for some of the people that are listening, some of the other Katies of the world.
We tend to all sit in the communications industry, I find. So it's where you can find us. I think one thing that you were kind of talking about is this long form or kind of thoughtful content, right? This thought leadership content that you're focused on. Like, why is this format, do you think, so relevant when everyone is kind of optimizing for short term or short form content? Like, where's the meat in that and what's the value?
Kind of the magic of long form or medium form, as Medium is named for, right? Is that it's harder to cheat, right? It's like sometimes in a tweet sized post, you can hit someone with something emotional, and that's like all there is to it, and they'll walk away just kind of knowing it. But if you're going to write an essay, if you're going to write 10 paragraphs, like you have to flesh it out. And it's one of those formats that just as like it lends itself uh, to thoughtfulness. And so if you're trying to, I mean, that's what thought leadership is supposed to be. So if you're trying to demonstrate it, you kind of need a format that's built for it. And as far as like what's trendy or not, what's trendy or not is what the platforms are designing themselves for. So I don't think long form is going to do great on TikTok. I would do shirtless AI riding a bear videos on TikTok, right? Like that'll do well there, right? And but if just saying there is an opportunity to do if you want to do long form, if you want to do expert, like that is like a place that like we have a place now that where that'll succeed.
What do you think from like a communications professional standpoint? Like, how should they be thinking about their platform strategy in terms of building out content for in the future? We've got all these different channels. Like, if you had like a perfect world, put your Amy hat on, like what would that look
Yeah, I mean, Amy's our comms professional who actually was here at the founding of Medium as well, and then had a whole like huge career. And then I was like, please come home. Like,
like?
um, thing that we're often going for is like do something differentiated, and that again, I mean, this is the cheat, right? Like in marketing, you're always trying to cheat because you're not going to otherwise, like either you can afford a Super Bowl ad or you're a cheater, right? Like you're trying to find some advantage. I mean, this is business, right? You're trying to find an advantage, and so this is why being differentiated, going where other people are, why that ends up being so valuable. And it's like I'm trying to think of like the canonical um, thought leader, like kind of boring thought leader. I don't know if your customers want to be called boring, but the 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 first time that I ever spoke in public, I spoke alongside this other speaker who was the president of the Chain Link Fence Manufacturers Association, and it just blew my mind because it had like never
Wait,
occurred to me.
let me back up. Like actual, like I'm imagining a chain link fence.
But it's
Yeah.
the association of the chain link
Are there
fence.
many manufacturers of these chain link fences? Is
enough
there a
that they
union?
need. I don't know if there's a union, but there's definitely an association. And it blew my mind in the way that I think it's blowing your mind. It's like, wow, if there's an association for that, there's an association
For
for
everything.
everything. So,
That's
Yeah.
such a good point.
so like I looked it up actually. I shout out Bill Peterson if you're listening to this. Like,
You're in the wrong place.
you're way off base. um, it's like your association made an impact to me, and so I'm like, okay, so what's Bill Peterson going to do? Well, first of all,
Mm.
I'm curious. Like already, I'm curious about chain link fences. Like why are the diamonds that size? What is the metal that they use, and how long does it hold up? And are there other styles of chain link fences? And
What's the
like
difference between that and chicken wire? You tell me.
totally right. You tell yes, Bill, tell
Do
us
they
right.
look different all around the world? How does this work everywhere?
Oh man, we're making the social cover art really easy for this one, Tony.
How is AI changing the chain link fence industry?
Yes.
If it is, I would be like, no way. My mind would be blown. So that's like the kind of like I say like what should a thought leader write about is like one of
Yeah.
those things. Is like, well, just start with being explainers. Explain your
Yeah.
industry. That can be helpful, right? Um, and the other one that I just see all the time is recruiting. That like I think the number one reason that I see people write for thought leadership is because they're trying to recruit smart people. So you go to the format that appeals to smart people. Like writing is for a way to like just writing for yourself makes you smarter, right? And then people who like to read, like that, it's just like it is the deepest format for consuming information. So it appeals to people who think their life will get better if they're smarter. And it appeals to hiring managers who are trying to hire smart people. So it's like the basics of, here's how I manage, here's how I lead. The like, I mean, you could literally say, here's my strategy for a one-on-one meeting. And it works like that. It can get at that such a basic level. But then the differentiators, here's how I lead differently. Like, here's what's different about my company. And that you might not say, oh, that reached. It's such a great example of thought leadership, actually, that doesn't need to reach that many people, right? Just needs to reach a couple of people.
Yeah.
And then you have the category of thought leadership that's just like, that is like kind of on the cutting edge, right? So right now, like, anyone, it's like AI plus the thing I'm already an expert in. That's thought leadership. 2 years ago, 4 years ago, remote work plus whatever you're an expert in.
Yeah.
Now you're a thought leader, right? It's just like ride the trends. And this is actually where you all probably are like can be really like super helpful. It's like, this is the trend. I'm telling you, this is the trend. Let's get on it, right? But again, to go back to this idea that by definition, everyone's an expert in their own life. Like if you want to be a thought leader, it's like you take one part trend, one part a thing that you're an expert in, that's a post. You're good to go, right?
There's some power in a niche. I feel like my husband, who's like a serial entrepreneur, he always says like, all you need is 1,000 customers. Think how many people in the world there are. You need 1,000 customers and you'll make a ton of money. So like, I think about that with language and messaging and and positioning in that way as well. Like think about your audience, and if you can connect with that audience through like whatever piece you're working on, then you at least have a repeat customer, right? So
right. Like strength is so much more is like it's better to be strong before you're broad, right? And I think that's what you're saying about like category design, right? It's like, okay, you got this category, you're number 100 in it, but if you expand it, you pair it like, you add to it. Now, then until you're number one, like, am I the number one CEO in the world? No. Am I the number one CEO in this room right now? Killing it. I am. Right? Yeah, that's category design, right?
I love that.
I think it's also because there is this feeling that you have to be viral and you have to be mass and you have to get the reach at the moment. And I think it's such a good reminder for businesses and for comms people working with their execs is like, well, who actually is our customer and where are they consuming news, information? To your point, where do they read? What are they interested in? And I think there's this tendency to try and get that mass versus getting right down to actually who are we trying to reach and what should we do to do that. And I think we just have to remind ourselves of that as comms people, because it can be tempting to try and get, the big thing.
Yeah. Do you? I was thinking about the more advanced side of this. When I worked for O'Reilly, it was sort of they were a tech publisher, and Tim O'Reilly, the founder, was kind of this leader in the tech industry, and he was you could kind of see him wandering around, like trying to coin a phrase because he felt like if he could coin a phrase, he could build a business behind it. And I think that is like it was like there's a base level of thought leadership that I think everyone has an exam has access to. Like there's no one that can't be a thought leader at something. But then there's this like advanced version that I've seen that is you're trying to create a thought that's so powerful that it frames the entire industry to your advantage. And so I was working at O'Reilly. I just left, but I was still close to the company when they coined the phrase Web 2.0. So it's like there's a couple different eras of the internet: the Web 1.0 era, which then had a big crash, and then this Web 2.0 era, which is where Twitter and Facebook and a bunch of things that like still are kind of big came out of. Instagram was launched in that era, and so he coined the phrase. It named a trend, and whenever anyone referenced the trend, they're referencing O'Reilly. And then they built kind of a book and conference business, which was their business, underneath that trend. And that's the part where, yeah, you're not going to get that advice from me. I just feel like that's magic. And
Yeah, that's like, I think when you find someone who can do that, it's pretty special. Yeah, there's not a lot of people, I think, in the world who can kind of, I think Benioff was pretty good at that when we worked at Salesforce. He's a good example of like taking what was going on in the world and kind of putting it under a trend or under a banner, and it became kind of the motion of the company. But there's not many people who can do it. Yeah.
This is so niche to Salesforce, but I still use the word multi-tenant or the phrase multi-tenant, which is like most people won't have heard it, but it's like I passed through a Dreamforce conference one time, and these concepts are in my head. Like it was amazing.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, in the early days of Salesforce, we used to use the apartment building example to explain multi-tenancy and the benefits of, you're all in the one apartment block, but you get all the same services and you get the plumbing fixed and whatever. And it was such a good analogy. And it was just one of those perfect ways to talk about what we did at the time when it was different. It's not necessarily, but
now it's assumed. But at the moment. Right.
Yeah, definitely.
I think though what we run the risk of is the people that can create those amazing one-liners or those kind of expressions are the people that we remember, and people know that, right? Like other founders see that and they strive for it. And I think just going back to that like knee-jerk commentary or trying to have that bit of virality, like I think that's where we start to run into problems of people trying to speak in headline versus actually becoming human again. And there's the spin out that happens from that.
Right. It's like we all need these toolboxes of like what are the patterns that have worked, and just to break people out of thinking there's only one pattern. And there are the patterns of people that have really stuck out to me for being just so raw, right? Like again, this is like if you're trying to do category design, if you're trying to be different, like hey, maybe you should try to be, do what people aren't doing. When I first got here, I got this weird advice, this really weird advice that just struck me as completely wrong-headed. So I'm not going to say who gave it to me, but
just say it was like, Katie.
Yeah, it was not a Katie. Oh my God, it was the mortal enemy of Katie's everywhere. I don't know. It was a Sarah. I don't know.
Sarah, you bitch.
But it's like, right, so, I'm like a new CEO. I'm sort of replacing a new to the company. I'm replacing a luminary. And I was really active in the comments everywhere. And I have my reasons. The main reason is I just, like, I learned that way, right? It's like I want to, like, sort of, there's this entrepreneur Steve Blank, who would always say, "Get out of the building. The CEO needs to get out of
Mm.
the building and get real contact with customers." And so this person said, "It's really weird that you're in the comments. Like, don't you understand? You're the CEO of Medium." And it was such a like, this is like, you should behave like a luminary. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. My boss is a luminary. The founder is a luminary. He founded Blogger. He founded Twitter. Like, he can be like an ivory tower kind of guy. I have to look different because I will
Yeah.
never succeed trying to look the same as him because I'm not the same as him.
Mm.
And so this like, no, I'm just going to be the type of CEO that's going to be in the comments. Like, let's accept that as a strategy and
Yeah.
let's build around that.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's also a good reminder to any comms person to think about, the type of CEO you have or founder
That's
and
right.
what their style is versus trying to make them into, to your
100%.
point. Like it's just not going to work, and you'll get way better, engagement if you are meeting them where they are as a
Right.
CEO.
Now, here's where, if we really wanted a great episode, we should have had my comms person, Amy, here and ask her real talk.
Yeah.
Like, what are my limitations? Like,
We'll have
and
her next week. We'll do a
Yeah, I was
deep
gonna
dive.
say we weren't gonna tell you this, but she's on right after, and we're just gonna tack it off the back. No.
every now and then she'll say, how about public speaking, which I really dislike, or TV. And I know enough about myself to know you should never put me on TV. I'm just sorry. It's like every time I've been on TV, I've run with like my head down with so much shame. It's just like it's the wrong format. My brain doesn't work that way. This
Yeah.
idea of like short, like we're here for an hour for a reason, right? And it's just like I can't even
Yeah.
get with the short answers that TV requires. And then also I'm not really a perform. An example of the limitations of someone is like TV is very performative. And the
Mm.
person who trained me for media was like, the person watching you is ironing their clothes. They're not paying
Mm.
attention. So you have to amp it up for them, right?
Yeah.
So of
Good
course
advice.
it is. It's totally the correct advice, but it's not who I am.
Right.
And also, then I get this note from my mom, who, of course, was not ironing clothes. She was like watching really
Intently
closely.
watching. Yeah.
And she's like, you just didn't seem very authentic. I'm like, no, of course not.
Yeah.
Like,
No shit, mom. Like,
oh shit, mom, thank you. And so I'm like, I left embarrassed, and then I'm embarrassed. I feel like I embarrassed my mom on top of it all. And I just like, I never put me on TV. Put me on a podcast and let me write. Those are my strengths, and like, let's roll with that, right? So, I mean, that's like, but some other CEOs have different strengths and should only be on TV.
mm.
And some of them thrive on it, and you can see
Yeah.
it, right? But it is really hard as a comms person when you get these opportunities, for potentially for broadcast, which does have, a broader reach potentially than some others, and you think, oh, we can do it, like we can get there. But I do think sometimes it is worth weighing up, who you have as your talent, whether that's a CEO or someone else in the business, But yeah.
I do
Always
think
butter
though
up the
that
CEO by referring to them as the talent.
you are the talent, honey.
Always.
Look at you. Your name's in lights. No, I think there is something to be said though about seeing potential though too. So
Yeah.
like I have worked with many a CEO where I know they would absolutely kill it in a certain scenario. And it's like in my head, I'm thinking about, okay, what are the baby steps to get, my Dylan, CEO of Assembly AI. I'm like, how do I get Dylan up doing this thing? Because he's amazing. He just needs the nudge, So that plan is always in place as well.
Well, I mean, I accept that, and I believe in that too, and especially that idea of the baby steps. Like, I'm always saying, like, don't think too hard about, like, this is the best podcast I'm on all year, but I will say yes to every podcast, and the reason is because I just want the reps,
Yeah.
and so that I have some muscle memory when I'm on like a crucial one, like I am today.
Bless you, Tony. Bless you.
No, but totally,
Listen,
this,
you're
I
not
mean,
going to hurt our feelings.
um, No, this, I mean, honestly, this is like, we were like, this is super important to us. This, like,
Mm.
uh, um, but I'll say, like, if you got like 5 followers, I'm like, do it. Let's do it. Let's
Yeah,
get
I love
on
that.
this
Yeah, I
because,
love that too. Also,
uh,
because thankfully that's what people did for us in the beginning. That's what I
Seriously,
was
oh my god.
like, is anyone gonna listen? And we just wanted to have a chat. And I think this goes back to the kind of this point of like, if you enjoy doing something and you like what you do, and that was part of the genesis of this, was like we just talk shit about comms naturally in our day-to-day life when we work together. And we thought, well, we want this, so maybe there's like one or two other people who want to listen to us talk shit about comms, you know?
Mhm.
right there, there's your category design right there. Talk
Love it.
shit
Yeah,
about comms.
yeah,
Done.
that's
Who's
basically
not in
it.
on that?
That's it. No plan other than that.
I'm worried we haven't talked any shit. Like, we went on a tangent on multi-tenancy, which I gotta imagine is not a top topic for comms people.
It's,
When do we talk shit about comms?
I
Yeah,
mean,
we can. If you want,
I
you
don't.
tell us.
I
You
don't
probably
have it.
work.
This is like, I'm wanting to hear it.
What about comms people? Like, do you have a lot of comms people kind of approaching Medium in the wrong way, or
Yeah.
like,
yeah, it's a good one.
You mean
trying to get
spammers?
their clients in there without actual thought leadership? Like, you can tell us the truth.
I mean, I'm on the for a long time I was on the press at medium.com alias, and
Oh,
it's
fun.
like, right, this is just a way to get spammed. That's interesting. And it's the ones that always get me are the people that like should know what Medium is but don't. Like, if look, the chain link fence manufacturing's com person doesn't need to know what Medium is, but like, if you're in social media and you're like, oh, I want to get my, will you publish my piece on Medium? I'm like, publish it yourself. This is a blogging platform. Like, where, like, and so then you were just on a spreadsheet, right? Like, this was a
Yeah.
mass
Do
mailing and what.
people still not realize what Medium is? Like, is that still a thing that you're running up against?
No, I mean, not really. Not
Yeah.
anyone. Like, if you're getting a personal email, they do, but I think you start to see how much spray and pray there is, and that I don't ever really understand. And then there's the, like, pay, yeah. I mean, I'd say that's the main one, and then the second one is the like idea that you don't have to be good, right? Like,
Yeah.
that I feel like I want, like, I really want to promote Medium as a place for thought leadership, but I also feel like I always have to temper it by saying, look, our community is mean like Reddit is mean. Like,
Yeah.
if you come with some bullshit, like, people are going to call you out, right? Like, so I
Mhm.
mean, when we say authentic thought leadership, like, yeah, that's easy. Everyone has that in them. But
Yeah.
if you're doing make believe thought leadership,
Yeah.
like, you're either going to get ignored, and that's going to be the best case scenario,
Yeah.
or you're going to get
Rip
called
to
out.
shreds. Yeah.
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 I want to ask you about like content marketing and the approaches that we're seeing. So, like, one thing,
Yeah.
like, I mean, bear with me here. So, I was listening to like the Gary Vee podcast.
Love Gary Vee. Why
My
wouldn't we love
husband
Gary
loves
Vee?
Gary Vee. So,
Let's go garage sailing.
yeah. I was listening to that and I was thinking about like how he keeps talking about B2B, like content creators and B2B kind of like, I don't know, like, and what that's going to look like. Are you seeing more like, should communications professionals be thinking more like creators, even if they're working with like in the B2B range? I don't know if this question is making sense.
I might throw 2 things back at you that I
Yes,
think, and
please.
then we'll see if we can come together. So I was talking to someone that was part of Notion's early marketing campaigns, and so I got a little bit of an explanation of them using like teen influencers,
Ooh.
and I was like, yeah, I saw all these consumers adopting Notion. That's so weird for a B2B company, but it did get this subtle subconscious idea into my head, which was, well, shit, if these people can use it, then it's going to be pretty easy to use for enterprise software, right? And so it was like actually
Mm.
pretty effective in that way. And then I think the thing that I'd heard from Gary Vee, and this may or may not be what you're talking about, is the idea that we should all get on uh, like product sales, like the sort of like we should all be pitching products. That's the future of social media,
Mm.
and I thought that was really specific to the dynamics of TikTok right now,
Mm.
and uh, yeah, because I mean it's good content and also you have like the tightest possible monetization loop. But so I think that's as much Gary Vee as I've consumed in the last 3 months, maybe.
I think what I'm thinking about too is like, are we seeing any kind of B2B influencers coming up on Medium? Like, are you seeing a lot of that? Because I feel like, I mean,
Oh.
my TikTok algorithm goes towards like the finance, like gal influencer type of thing now. You know, we've got like the Maggie Sellers of the world with Hot Smart Rich and that sort of thing. But like, are we seeing that with B2B tech? Like, is there anyone that's like so cool doing DocuSign like shit or whatever?
Right.
Like,
Right. I think on Medium, no, we're so anti-influencer. Like
yeah.
that's like kind
Okay.
of the opposite. It's like we don't want to see we don't want to see your like influencer type social media manager on like give me the real person. Get
Mm.
your head of engineering, get your designers writing here. Because like the whole platform is geared to look for real experience. So
Mm.
not like people sometimes shy away from the word expert, but like by definition, we all have experiences we can share. And if that's missing, the platform kind of ignores it. So I like thankfully and by design, I just don't see a lot of that in
Yeah.
my um, medium consumption. And then but you know, I'm on all the platforms, and so I see what I see on TikTok, mostly
Gavin.
impractically large pets. You know, the sort of like big cat TikTok. You know, it's like, oh, I've got a
Oh,
lion
I
for a
need to
pet.
follow that. I don't follow that.
Recommended.
Yeah.
I have a Pyrenees at home, and so now I get a lot of
Oh
Pyrenees
yeah.
dog content. So maybe I'm like, none of this is helpful.
I do love Pyrenees content. Like I love that when they sleep with the sheep. I love
Oh
that.
yeah,
Big fan of
yeah,
that.
totally.
He's not on
No,
TikTok.
I'm like, I am not.
Get
No, I actually am on TikTok now, but purely because, and this is like such a tangent, but just from a content perspective, I think it is interesting. I just went to South Korea for work, and obviously, Korea is known for its skincare and beauty. So I was like, well, I need to know what I need to get. What are the young kids buying? So I literally got TikTok so that I could look up what am I buying in Korea? And then now I don't need it anymore. I'm like, okay, but now my algorithm is just all about Korean skincare. And I'm like, I'm not there anymore. This is not helpful. But
Oh,
that's why I got TikTok. So there you go, everyone. Find me
well,
on TikTok.
now we got Tony on the call, and I want to know what you got. We'll
We can do
wait
that
for it.
another day. Yeah, I'll
Fine,
save it.
fine. Okay.
I mean, unfortunately, it is dogs and Gavin Newsom shirtless, and I'm also wanting the Gavin Newsom shirtless to like disappear from my feed, and I have to find some.
You're stuck now. Yeah, you'll have to find something else to feed it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with kind of all of that content as well, and I know you just put your own piece out on AI, what that's
Mhm.
looking like, and kind of what the parameters are looking like on Medium. Like, can you just kind of walk us through that piece? And we want to drill into that a little bit as well.
I mean, sure. We're on this weird journey with creators and AI, you know, and the journey started with like a lot of anger because the AI companies built their companies by leeching value out of all of this creator content and giving nothing back. And we're so used to some exchange of value, right? And this is like fundamental to Western society, really, right? So no exchange of value. They didn't ask for consent. They didn't give credit. They didn't give any compensation. Like even
Mm.
Google normally gives traffic, right? But their Gemini answers right now give almost no traffic, almost
Mm.
pointless to work with them on this. So that was frustrating. Felt unfair, right? But
Mm.
then the early adopters of AI like sort of poked us all in the eye with spam and slop. So it's like not only did they steal the content, now they're making our lives worse
Yeah.
with the results of that theft, and it's just like the distaste is, you know, like it's real. It was,
Yeah.
and it's deep, right? But then we also have to like accept that. people are finding real use for AI everywhere. And this actually didn't surprise us at all. 60% of our readers are paying for an AI tool right now. And that's true
Mm,
in our writers as well. So
Yeah.
AI is helping somewhere along the line. And so now we have to kind of navigate this gray area of when is AI just a new form of spam and when is it a new way to um, enable us to communicate in a real and authentic way.
Yeah.
So I knew that this would trip people up, and so uh, there's this AI example that I've been using, which is, when I write, I often have to have basic citations, like links, to things that I'm referencing. But the way my brain works is if I have to go find those links myself, boom, I'm in a hole of procrastination. It's like,
mm,
oh, a chance to look around the web? Great.
100%.
I'm gone for an hour, right? And and so now for the last 2 months I've been writing with an AI assistant that's sort of alongside of my text editor. And so like the other day I highlighted a paragraph and it was talking about something that we had launched. And so I literally just write to the assistant. Ev wrote about this on the Medium blog in 2017. Find the link and add it
Mm.
instantly. It found the right link, put
yeah,
it
wow.
in the text, and I was like, and I never left the editor and I never lost myself to this procrastination. So I
Mm,
probably used just like that very simple form of AI, like that is like the AI language. It understood what I was talking about, and it was an AI agent that can go search the web on my behalf. I use that every time I write now.
mm,
And I like that, right? Okay. So now you have the spectrum of spam and tools like, you
yeah.
know, spelling and grammar. And those tools are going to get more powerful and more interesting. And then you have the gray area where like it wrote the outline for you or it did the research for you and you didn't check the research. And yeah, that's what we're navigating right now.
Mm. I love that. And I think especially when you're talking about the human element, that's the trick is keeping that human element in your writing and then using it for like, what was that quote that guy
Mhm.
said? Can you find that for me? Like
Mm,
that's where you bring in the tool. And I think that's great. I love that.
I think there's like just this basic faith on our part that humans aren't going to stop wanting to be human. We're curious and we like connecting. And
mm,
maybe it gets harder. It's actually, I'll tell you what I told Google when I was talking to our Google reps the other day. I said, if you don't start giving compensation to what you're training on, we're all going to go underground. Like
Mhm.
the sort of
mm,
like the reason the public internet exists is because of Google traffic. Otherwise, why bother? Right.
Yeah.
And so it might be that the future of social media is Discord, right? Completely hidden, right? Private groups
mm,
of people talking to each other. But there's a valuable way to do that too. And we'll go in that direction if the public internet disappears. Like we'd be sad, but we don't have any say in it. But that would be like my main fear with AI is it becomes so indistinguishable, but then has the effect of kind of watering down the value. And so the public internet might just be for entertainment in the future, and you're back to kind of insidery networks for real when you need real information sharing.
mm. I never thought about it like that, but yeah, that's really interesting.
I
But
have
then
like
where all the comms people go to pitch their stories.
I know.
More places, actually.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, this is like,
yeah.
more future
No, it's
looking.
really interesting. Yeah.
From an executive thought leadership standpoint, I just have this like hot take on if I think that it's all going to keep moving faster and faster and faster with AI and like content is faster and more and more and more words and more words. And there's going to be burnout. Like, I think people are going to start really recognizing, like, we can't even use our proper grammar anymore. Like, can't even use a freaking M dash because we're afraid that it looks like AI.
Right.
Um, and so people are just going to get really burnt out on, I need to learn this tool and faster and build this content and this strategy and everything needs to, do more with less. People are going to want to go back to like slow, long form
Yeah.
conversation. Like, I think that people are really going to start finding value in that. And I think it's going to come around faster than we think it is. I think,
Yeah.
by mid next year, I reckon people are going to be so burnt out on AI shit that they're going to be like, I just want somebody to have an original thought and like make it a metaphor. And like,
Yeah. Right. And so your prediction is that slow trends will come at us
the same way
fast.
that Gen Z is like, oh, have you heard of this thing called like the record? And like, did you know that there used to be
Oh,
cameras and you had to put film in them? Like, like
but
the same way that hip camp exploded, for millennials. Like, it's this, people want to touch grass eventually. They want human connection. It's what our species has been centered around.
right.
Mm.
I like that touch grass as like an emerging niche, that there and one that will probably get really quite big. Might not be dominant, but like big enough that we'll all have access to.
Yeah.
Like, let's sit down, let's slow down, let's have a full kind of single tasked experience. And I think that's what people like about a record, right? Put
Yeah.
the record on, sit down, you got 20 minutes, so you got to turn sides.
It's
Like,
also not perfect.
right,
I think that's the other thing.
the wabi sabi of the sound of it. Yeah.
Love it. The
Yeah.
crackle, like it's good. But I mean, that being said, I do think there's two sides of my coin. One is the one I just gave you. The other is adapt or die, right? So like we've got to figure out how to work with AI, but like what is that human experience to make sure that we're delivering authentic content?
Yeah. This is I, this maybe is will feel good to some listeners that like we just sort of found that the people that were best at adapting were actually quite expert. You kind of go through your career like when you're a junior, you don't know what's going on, and they'll have their own learning curve that will like I could never comment on, right? But when you're mid stage, you're kind of obsessed with best practices.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to adapt, right? But when you're experienced, you understand what were the first principles behind those best practices and why and when do they break down. So now this new trend comes along and it's like, oh, you already have opinions about the first principles and you can just kind of apply them in a new way. So we've really been leaning on experience as the thing that lets us navigate this emerging trend.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's the right approach because I do think there's a tendency to pivot too far, and I do feel like there's a little bit at the moment of everybody saying how they're using AI, and it's like, yeah, like I don't know, I just feel like every day I see a new article of like this is how we're leveraging AI, and this is like I mean, particularly companies talking about agentic AI, like it just feels a little bit, you know um so
Too fast.
I think we get it, and I think it's now time to sort of pause and absorb
Yeah.
versus like telling everybody continually how we're doing it.
Do you know
Yeah.
what it reminds me of? Is like, remember when you were in agency land? I don't know if you experienced this, Tony, from your perspective as well, but like everyone was so obsessed with being up to date with every single article. And so like you'd walk into the office and be like, oh my God, did you see the new piece from blah, 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 blah? And you'd have to be like, yeah, like I literally remember being like 22 and lying to people and being like, oh my God, it's such a good article, like I feel like that's what it feels like now, and where you have to like know everything all the time, all at once.
Or like
Yeah.
any new tool, like have you heard of, and it's like, no, I haven't, because I was feeding my kids breakfast. Like, no.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. I think you're like mirroring back what I feel about the expertise in first principles. Like
Yeah.
those take a long time to understand. And then once you have that, then you can get back up to speed when you need to. And you don't have to feel like you have to stay up to speed.
Just thinking about trends, given that we're kind of talking about all these things and predictions and looking ahead, what trends are you seeing in business content that comms people should be paying attention to right now?
I mean, vulnerability. I mean, this, and I see this
Hmm.
because I use it, right? Like we had a big post earlier in the year about how Medium had almost gone out of business and how we got out of it. And I just like, I knew I had to write it because we're a blogging platform and oversharing is like, you know, the point. But I also was like, oh, this will kill because no one shares this stuff,
Yeah, no one talks
It's
about it.
like,
Totally.
um, and the people that I looked up to, the patterns that I had in my head, it's like sometimes you're really aggressive about a new marketing campaign to establish yourself, and then you kind of go away because you're established. So I was thinking about this marketing tool Buffer and how open and like vulnerable they had been when they were getting started. I was thinking about the early days of 37 Signals, which was a big kind of business B2B software company for a while. And it's like, that was just part of getting established. And so you see these patterns like pop up and then they kind of disappear. And I thought, oh, I think this is an opportunity that other people could use again. I think honestly, the CEO talking at all. Like I was early on Threads, and for a while I thought I had the whole like CEO category locked up. I was like, you kidding me? I have no
Yeah.
competition here. Great.
Yeah.
Let me tell you so then I could be like, why my company banned one-on-one meetings, and it's like no one would be able to even contradict me. We have
Yeah.
one-on-one meetings, but I'm just saying I could talk about anything, and so
Yeah.
like that's the maybe this is because what you're saying, what I heard you say earlier, is there's so much of a perception you have to go viral, right? And so
Yeah.
everyone went that way, and maybe the side effect is that the CEOs shut up because they're not good at that, and also it's like really dangerous, right? It's like
Yeah.
can't be too edgy, right?
Totally.
And like even in this podcast once, like I let you swear instead of me, right? I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait for them to swear, and
Did
it's
have to
like
wait long.
thank
Usually within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, right. And so, like, now there's these big gaps where you don't have competition anymore. And yet, everyone is hungry for like real talk. Like, how do companies work? How does your company work?
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think the trend is like no more complicated than that. Just like,
Yeah.
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, I love the vulnerability piece. I think we are seeing a little bit more of that now. We just talked about the other week, the CrowdStrike CEO did the blog about kind of 1 year on from their what happened with that business, and being a little bit more open about how they've addressed that. I think we're starting to see that creep in, but I think we could, it's a good thing, and I think more CEOs should be doing it.
I mean, the sort of the insider secret there is you can't be vulnerable until from a position of weakness, right?
Yeah.
Like he had to wait a year
You had to wait.
until
No,
they had
100%.
recovered, right? You know what I mean?
I thought about it that way.
So same, yeah. My post was fell in a hole, got out. I couldn't just write the fell in a hole.
We're in a hole. Help us.
We're in a hole. Please abandon us, right?
Yeah.
Can someone tell me how to get out of this hole?
Yeah, that's right.
Having a really interesting piece though, but yes, you need the arc, and people want the arc, I think, to some extent too, right? We're still humans who want that, like, oh, you had this hard, and then now you're back, and we think you're doing a good job, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tony, I feel like we've shared a lot of insights. You've made us absolutely smarter than we were an hour ago before we started recording. But what we want to know is, what have you done dumb this week? Are you dumb in private?
Am I dumb in private? Can I just answer like dumb generally?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Because when I was thinking about this, and I was like, it's like I've never shared, but it's like really embarrassing. I don't know how to make coffee. Like, and I'll just say, in fact, the idea of knowing how to make coffee doesn't even make sense to me, because like I'm someone who wakes up needing coffee so badly.
I was going to ask, do you drink coffee?
Yeah, I love coffee. But it's like that moment where I need the coffee is not the moment where I could conceivably understand anything about making it. And so what I do every morning is I always go out for it. And I think I'm also antsy and I want to be out of the house early. That's part of kind of resetting. But as a result, like this idea of like grinding bean, no.
That's crazy to me that you do not know how to make coffee.
It's crazy to me that you know how. How do you have the energy to know how to make coffee? I have no idea. And it never, like for me, my life is fine not knowing, right? Like I would never notice that this is a weird thing unless I have a house guest who's like, how do you make coffee here? And I'm like, oh boy, I don't know.
I know a
Ask
great
around.
spot. right down the road.
Your morning walk, that's our activity. And but you must live near, like close then to a good
Sure,
coffee
sure,
place, because
sure,
otherwise,
sure,
like, I live in the burbs and it would be a bit of a walk. Like, I couldn't, so I've
sure.
had to invest in a coffee machine
Okay,
because it just
shout
became
out
too.
to yeah, shout out to White Noise in downtown Brooklyn. I love you. Like, and
Add them in the post.
Love
but
you. Oh
Sustaining
my God.
Tony's lack of effort in learning how to make a coffee.
You'd have no desire in even like the art of it.
no, no,
I'm not a
I don't.
coffee snob, but I think living in Australia for so long, it's
Yeah.
turned me on to people being like, "Oh, what kind of beans do you like?"
No, I'm around people that have that. My dad was early on espresso machines. I grew up in that household. I have no capacity before I've had the coffee, and then once I've had the
Love it.
coffee, then the desire goes away.
Okay.
And yeah, and
That's
so
fair.
I know nothing.
Are you having multiple coffees a day? Like, how often are you going back to that place every day?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I will just yes. Anytime I'm antsy,
They're like, we know him.
right? They do know me.
I love that.
That's also nice too. I'm a big fan of the ritual of like your coffee
hmm
spot and like them
hmm
knowing you and getting the coffee. Yeah, I like that too. I feel like that's part of the coffee. I mean, this is me showing my Australianness now because like I do feel like we live and breathe the coffee culture here, but
Mhm.
I like that part of it too, to have your local and yeah, yeah. So I get it, sort of.
I don't get it. It's blowing my mind,
So
actually.
wait, now, so your question is, what's your dumb? And then you just like you
Yeah, we
can't
repeated
handle
it.
it.
And now
Tony,
we rip you.
what,
Mhm.
do you want to share with Tony the one you always use as the example for this segment that I did, just so
Yeah.
he better?
So listeners, like this might be a repeat for some of you, but let me just give you some context. When we go through, sometimes when we have a prep session with our guests, sometimes we tell them, listen, if you want to tell us you're done in private now, but we like to save it because we want to hear it for the first time on the pod, right? And I say, let me give you an example of what the one that Duffy did one time that was like perfect. So some of you might have heard this already before, but it is the example, the perfect example, quintessential dumb and private, where Duffy was scraping all the leaves out of her pool and like putting them and slopping them next to the pool and just was like, who needs a man? Like I can clean the pool out, and like hung up the net and went back inside, and then the leaves dried and then the wind picked up and blew them all back into the pool. So that is my favorite
And it's
Duffy.
just like I thought I was doing so good, and that's just a classic me of like I can do this. I don't need, and then just not thinking through the actual execution to the end. And then my husband was like, "You didn't think that putting them next to the pool?" And I was like, "Fix that. That's not
Yeah.
the way my brain works." I was like, "They're out of the pool." And that's the example we use all the time. And I've got about 1,000 of those, Tony. So you do you with your not learning how to make coffee.
It was a short-term success. I mean, I
Yeah,
get that.
yeah.
I love
You
it. Well,
okay?
thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your coffee story. Sorry we ripped into you so hard, but it, surprised me. I said surprise me, and then you did. So you win.
All right. Well, I'll take. I wanted to have something for you, and I guess I did. It was
Thank
definitely a thing, apparently.
100% A plus. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And if anybody has a guest that they would like to reach out to us to suggest, please email us at hello@smartandpublicpod.com. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok. You can find us on YouTube at Smart and Public Pod as well, and anywhere that you listen to your podcast. So please listen, rate, review, and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Thank you, Tony, so much for coming. We had a blast chatting with you, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
All
Okay,
right. Thank you,
bye.
Katie's.
Bye.
Bye.